today I've been to see the Robin Hood movie, obviously the latest one, 2018, with that guy out of the Kingsman. And I'd heard a lot of bad reviews. I certainly wouldn't say it was a terrible film. I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing. I had heard some references to it being similar to the King Arthur movie. When was that out? Was it 2017? Recently. Might have been 2016, but I think it was 2017. That King Arthur movie where it was just such a modern take on King Arthur. I loved it. I literally loved it. It wasn't Martin Scorsese, was it? But it was like a modern director, sorry. I forget who directed King Arthur now, but I absolutely loved it. So I was kind of hoping that Robin Hood was going to be similar. And in that regard, I think I was disappointed. So I loved the King Arthur movie, and therefore that left me disappointed about the Robin Hood movie. It was a more modern Robin Hood. And when I say more modern, maybe it's the accents, I don't know, that really make it feel more modern. Maybe the fact that it's set, that it's been filmed recently rather than obviously the Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, being set in the 90s, being recorded in the 90s, had that more authentic, oldie, worldy days feel about it. But it was okay. I mean, I would probably give it 7 out of 10, might be a little bit generous. It may be a 6.8, 6.9, but it was decent. Do you want to go pay money to go to the cinema and see it? Well, if you are a fan of the actors that are in it, that might be a reason to go. If you've never seen a Robin Hood movie before because you're quite young and this is going to be your first Robin Hood movie, then sure, yeah, go and see it. If you can go and see it on a 2-for-1, where it's not going to be paying the full £10 per person to go and see it, then sure. But equally, I think it's probably a movie that you could enjoy watching at home. I don't recall there being any shots that were utterly spectacular where you think, oh my god, you had to see that at a cinema. I was actually sat quite near the back for this, and I feel that when you sat near the back, any of the real spectacular shots, you don't quite get the same kind of impact because you're a little bit too far away. So it almost, being sat at the back of the cinema is almost like sitting at home with a big screen TV. Do you know what I mean? It's the same kind of perspective. So I like the screen to be a little bit more in your face when I go to the cinema, and I was sat at the back for this. Maybe that's a reason why I wasn't completely blown away by the movie, but I don't think so. I don't think it had any of those scenes. It was enjoyable. There were possibly times when I'd been at the cinema all day. I watched 4 films and I was looking forward to watching The Possession of Hannah Grace afterwards. So maybe there was an element of me wanting the movie to hurry up and end, and I was quite hungry. I think it's important to think about these things because, like I say, when you hear some people do a movie review, sometimes I think to myself, God, how did you review it that badly, that negatively? Were you in a bad mood that day? So like I say, I was pretty hungry and thirsty, bit of a sore throat going on. So, I'm not in my usual kind of, overly excited frame of mind for going to the movies today. But nevertheless, it was okay. I can't really think of anything to overly criticise it for. It had a unique take. So the movie kicks off and it was totally not what I was expecting. But I was pleasantly surprised. I liked this slight slant that they'd taken on Robin Hood. It's absolutely not a traditional Robin Hood story, but the theme is still there. The overall theme of rob from the rich and give to the poor. That's obviously the Robin Hood story. It wouldn't be Robin Hood if he wasn't robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. You've got some of the characters that you would expect. The Sheriff of Nottingham, Friar Tuck, and Little John. Although he's not actually referred to as Little John. I think he's just referred to as John. So, for Robin Hood fans, there are the characters there. Oh, and Marion. But again, I don't think she was referred to as Maid Marian. So like I say, it's got the characters, it's got the overall theme, rob from the rich, give to the poor, but it's a very unique take, more modern take, and in many respects I really liked it. There was a twist to it which I quite liked. I am very much been thinking about the economy recently, and you know, the thought of, is our tax money actually being used for what it should be getting used for? And as anybody who knows the Robin Hood story will know, taxes are a part of the Robin Hood story. Taxes that people would now just consider normal income tax. Back then, it's a more aggressive tax where I guess they basically make it up as they go along, you know, and just say, right, we're going to tax you for this, we're going to tax you for that. And you know, the story surrounding that, you know, the taxation element and how the general public feel towards taxation, I actually quite enjoyed that narrative, because like I say, Brexit is a hot topic right now, and taxes, the economy, you know, it's very much with my mindset, you know, I mean, I'm in the world of finance, that's my background, where I come from. So I enjoyed that element of the story. But if, like probably most people, you're not interested in the economy, you're not interested in taxes and money and all that kind of stuff, how are you going to enjoy this movie? It's okay, it's decent. It's not a classic, but it's okay. I would be just as happy watching it at home, I think. Wait until it comes out on DVD, assuming that you've got a half decent sized TV at home. I think you'll get just as much enjoyment from watching it at home. I certainly wouldn't say it's one that you have to go out and pay £10 to go and see, but if, like me, you've got the Cineworld pass, sure, go see it, definitely. Why not go see it? You know, it was decent. It was on for just shy of 2 hours. I think it was an hour and 55, an hour and 50, something like that. Yeah, it's worth a watch. The guy in it who is out of the Kingsman, the guy who is Robin Hood, the main character, I quite honestly find him a little bit annoying as an actor. I think I just didn't like his arrogance in the Kingsman, but I liked him more in this. To say that he is Robin Hood, I was expecting him to be, you know, the most arrogant, annoying person on the planet, but he kind of has quite a nice personality, so it was quite refreshing. I was quite pleasantly surprised by his character. You know, it wasn't too bad. There was times he was a little bit arrogant and a little bit annoying, but that's just me. So yeah, let me know what you thought of this movie. I was a big fan of the original Robin Hood with Kevin Costner. I've not watched it for a lot of years now, but it was one of those movies where back in the day I probably watched it, you know, 10 times, all in all, probably seen it that many times. I won't be in a huge rush to see this one again, but if it's on in 2 years' time at Christmas, I'll certainly give it another watch. It's okay. 6.8 out of 10 is probably about where it needs to be, I would suggest. So yeah, I think that's pretty much. I don't have a great deal to say, a great deal of enthusiasm about the movie, but it was okay. It wasn't terrible like some of the reviews have been suggesting, and in parts it was actually brilliant. I mean, that's one thing to say. There were parts of the movie where you feel like you're on the edge of your seat with enjoyment. You know, the action scenes where obviously a bow and arrow is very much his tool, and you know, when you're seeing him train, a little bit like the Hunger Games where you're watching them train and get good, a little bit like a Rocky movie where you're watching them train. I enjoyed it. There were certainly very good parts to it, and parts of the storyline really were quite good. It just wasn't the kind of movie that blows you away, but at the same time it absolutely wasn't terrible, and I quite liked the unique take on the storyline. Overall, it was decent. Yeah, worth a watch if you're a movie enthusiast, but for the non-movie enthusiast, probably you can wait for it to come on DVD. So I hope you found that review useful. Let me know what you thought of the movie, and I'll see you at the next review.